The way of the Sioux Indians before they got relocated to reservations.
Before the arrival of whites, the Sioux lived peacefully on the woodlands and on the plains. Everything changed in the 1700s. The whites did not respect the Sioux' right to own their land they were on for years. Even though it was the Sioux' responsibility to protect their land, they could not overthrow the whites' guns and were soon relocated to reservations. The Indians' religion consists of the creation story. The Great Spirit created a hard rain that flooded the land. All the people drowned except for a girl. She climbed to a high cliff where she asked the Great Spirit to save her. While she prayed, an eagle swooped down and the lone girl grabbed its legs. The eagle carried the girl over the flooded land to a high mountain in the Black Hills. The eagle turned to the man, and the eagle man and the girl were parents. Thus the Sioux tribe began. There are 7 Dakota or Sioux tribes that speak Siouan. They live on the woodlands and on the plains. During the time that the Sioux were living free and on the plains, they hunted buffalo, deer, antelope, turkey, ducks, bear, and other small game. The 1,800-pound buffalo hunted by the Sioux was never wasted. Neither were the other animals. Buffalo hide was used as a blanket in the winter, while deerskin was used in the summer. Buffalo hide also made moccasins, clothes, pipe holders, and teepees. The buffalo's ribs were even used as sleds in the winter. The men hunted, practiced weaponry and riding skills, while the women cooked, sewed, and cleaned. The women also taught their babies not to cry aloud by softly pinching their nose and covering their mouth. By doing so, the babies wouldn't scare off the buffalo or give away their war spot.
The Sioux let the children figure out if something was dangerous or not. When the boys were old enough and brave enough, they would tie rawhide ropes to their chests. They thought that hurting themselves would please the Great Spirit. That is why they would earn great honors if they could stay standing up or not faint from sunup to sundown during the Sundance. Although they pleased the spirits when they danced, they only performed the Sundance after a successful hunt or after someone was healed. There are different dances for special occasions, such as the horse dance. There are different spirits that the Sioux worshipped. To find those spirits, a young boy, age of 12, would go out into the wilderness for 4 days and 4 nights without food and water. During that time, the boy would meditate to figure out his spirit. After that duration, the boy would be brought back to the Sioux encampment and would visit the medicine man. During their visit, the boy would tell him about his visions. The medicine man would then interpret the visions of the 12-year-old and tell the new man what his spirit is. Although the girls were second class, they too had a test to become a woman. Since she was second class, another older woman would come with her with plenty of food and water into the wilderness, but she experienced the same as the boy. Once the boy became a man, he could marry any woman of his choice. He could marry anyone because he could marry as many times as he wanted, but marriage was expensive. The man would have to have many honors and lots of horses. When he liked a woman, he would stand outside her teepee for hours. When he thought the woman liked him too, he'd go inside her teepee and play songs on his flute. If he still thought the woman liked him, he'd give the family a horse. If they accepted, the woman liked him. The man then had an older woman ask the younger one for him. If the younger one said yes, he'd give the family more horses and they'd get married. When the whites made trails to the Sioux land, the Indians would often get sicknesses they weren't immune to. The diseases they usually caught were scarlet fever, measles, smallpox, and sore throats. The medicine man would try his best to heal them. When the Sioux ambushed the traveling whites, they wore red paint. Along with the paint, the spear, shield, war club, and a strong bow with painted arrows added to their intimidated look. When the whites had enough ambushes, they set up treaties to trick the Sioux and other Indians across North America. The whites set about doing so by getting the Indians drunk, tricky wordplay, and using words the Indians didn't understand. Some of the treaties consist of lots of food and money for their land. The whites made promises they couldn't keep. They didn't give the Sioux the money they promised or the food. They charged unreasonable amounts of money for small things, such as a few spoonfuls of sugar for $8. The next thing the government did was forbid the Sundance. That was the Sioux's means of worshiping. The Sioux was angry and battles broke out. But the Sioux's bows were no match for the whites' guns. The battle at Wounded Knee was one out of many examples on how the Indians were seriously overpowered by guns. After that major loss, the ghost dance was invented to stop bullets and bring back their dead loved ones. The next time the whites and the Sioux had an encounter, the Sioux started dancing. They soon learned that the ghost dance couldn't stop bullets and that no one who died was going to return. After a few more battles, the Sioux finally agreed to sign the Reservation Treaty. That act went into place around 1890. The Sioux got relocated to the Black Hills. Then the whites found gold and moved the Indians to a place around the Missouri River. After the relocation to reservation, the government didn't keep their promises. Instead, they made more changes to the Sioux culture. The government forced the Sioux children to school in order to de-Indianize them. The whites moved the Sioux a couple more times. Today, the Sisseton-Wahpeton Sioux tribe is in the northeast part of South Dakota. During those hard times on the northeastern reservation, the tribe struggled to survive. My great-grandma was one of them. My great-grandma Germaine spent 17 years on the Sisseton-Wahpeton Sioux reservation. During those years, she spent her childhood playing with her friends.
Oh God, we went swimming about 20 times. We went climbing trees, and we made mud pies. To us, that was fun.
It wasn't all fun and games, though. They had chores just like we do.
Well, when you get your wash dishes and you sweep the floor, you get the house clean.
Even though they have the same kind of chores as we do today, other things were different, such as family time. When my great-grandma was on the reservation, they didn't appreciate family time as much as we do today.
No, we didn't go much any place. The only place we went was like 4th of July. We gathered all our cooking utensils, bedding, we had a wagon with horses. And 4th of July, that's the only time we held all our stuff, and we went to different places, had powwows for 3-4 days. So that's what we did the only time together. Otherwise, we stayed in home all the time. We didn't have no car.
Like family time, their clothes were different too. They wore dresses more often than we do today.
Yeah, just regular dresses.
Although family time wasn't important, siblings were.
Marion, Ida, Florine, Doris, me, Lila, and one brother. So there was 7 of us out of 13. The other ones died.
As I mentioned before, their culture changed while they were on reservations. Do they still wear feathered headdresses?
No, that's the only time I see that is when they're dancing. Otherwise, we just wore our regular clothes. When they butchered like a pig or a cow, they'll give them the liver or the tongue or something like that. Otherwise, we lived on wildlife.
While their culture changed, so did their diets. With all the change in their life, the hardest thing was a new education. Before the reservations, the Sioux were taught by the uncles and great war leaders. Now they got educated by the government.
Yeah, we went 1 year to day school, they call it. And it was probably a mile and a half where we had to walk. And that winter, we got kind of frostbites, and we were dressed warm and everything, but sometimes it was so cold, that frostbite. So then the next year, they sent us to a government school where we stayed 9 months at a time. But 1 year we did go to day school.
When my great-grandma left the reservation at 17, she thought all the change was over. It wasn't. When she got married, her husband couldn't say Germaine, so she had to switch her name to June. Although she lives peacefully now in Sioux Falls, those times on a reservation will never be forgotten.
It was hard, rough.
Ever since those treaties were violated, the Indians have been afraid of the whites.
We'll be walking on the road, all of us, my mom and her friend and her grandkids, us kids. And it'll be a car coming, and they'll just run. I'll take off running. And I always thought later, maybe they want to ask us a question. Why did our folks tell us to run you? Probably, they probably thought, it was some civilized Indians, running, you can't ask them a question. But I remember one time too, they said they were from New York. They were driving through Buffalo, and the car stopped, and they said, "Oh, we're from New York. Oh, can we have a picture of you?" So they took a picture of Bob, whoever she was.
The Indians didn't want to purchase guns because it was against their moral rights. Losing their responsibility was mainly because the guns were against the Great Spirit. In not doing whatever they could to save their land, it resulted in their rights for the land being invaded. Once their land was taken away, the land was used for farming.